Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening? What's happening? Paul here. I'll be your DM for a little while, and welcome to Dungeon Dive. And Dungeon Dive is just me coming on and saying, hey, I want to show you a recent adventure that I've run, a dungeon that I've run, and share some tips along the way as far as how I ran it. Sometimes I run a dungeon and I think, oh, well, that turned out far better. That turned out far better than I thought it would. I don't know. Maybe you've had that experience as well. And tonight I'm going to be sharing with you a recent game I played on Friday night with my high school friends. I've been playing with these guys for 40 years, well, over 40 years now. And we've been playing Esper Genesis 5th edition. And it's 5e, I should say that. It's the 5e rule set with science fiction. And Esper Genesis, I highly recommend it. I'll put some links down below if you're interested in more about Esper Genesis, because I think it's a really, really good, well done. In fact, let me show here real quick. I can show you right here. Here we go. Esper Genesis 5e. A really good set, nice set of rules, lots to enjoy. And so what I'll be doing tonight, I'll be breaking down the dungeon, this was the final battle of this arc. So this we've been doing this now almost over a year, maybe close to 2 years, and so it's quite the adventure. It's a well written adventure in 95% of it. This particular adventure had some writing issues, so I had to kind of work around some things, which is fine. So, very rarely, I think, as Dungeon Masters, do we ever play it as is. In fact, I would recommend you don't play adventures as they're written. Always play them as you want to play them. And if you have a better idea, put that idea in there. Don't worry about whether or not the adventure's, balanced, or just play what you want to play, and then let your players figure it out. So some things that I did, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the screen here for what we're looking at here. And it is, like I said, the final kind of boss room here, and I'll describe it as we go along here. Let's see here. Let's put that over here. Here we go. Get rid of this. Let's see. Let's get rid of that. There we go. That's better. All right. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this place right here. This is far better. These here are the PCs. They were, and I'll give you a little plot summary here. What they've been tracking down is they've been tracking this guy down here. They've been tracking down this guy named Laris Baludan. And by the way, if you're interested in playing this adventure at all, it's called Stormfall. So if you say, look, Paul, I might be interested in playing this, then don't watch this. Go away. Watch this, at another time after you've played it or something like that. So just spoilers. I feel like I have to say that, when we're talking about adventures, that if you ever choose to play it, then, at least you were warned, right? And so these are the players here. This is a mech right here. They found this mech, and they have had this mech, and his name is Max, and belongs to Xander here. And which is, I allow that. Look, it's basically like in fantasy, it's like having a familiar. So, Max has been along for the ride. The Max is sometimes not. Max had a partner at one point, and the partner did not make it. Just there was collateral damage, let's say. And so they started off. I'm going to put them just so you can see here. This is where they were. They started here, and how I started the adventures. Everybody kind of started on the other side of this force field. And in this particular case, I added a lot of flavor to this to lead up to what is going to be the next arc, which is already revealed. So if my players are watching this, you already know where you're going, so it doesn't matter. But I clued them in. I put in some things into this adventure that was going to build up, that were not in writing it. It wasn't written that way. So I made sure I put in there things that were going to be little breadcrumbs that they could follow, that were going to get them and have them thinking about what is going to be in store. And so in this area, I said that this basically, when they're on the other side, and the minute this door, the force field is let down, and that's because of Laris Baludan's arrogance. I could have made the players stay out there. I could have made the characters sit out there and figure out how to, take the force field down and all that. They could have done that, but I just said, you know what? Because Laris Baludan is arrogant, he's going to let them in because he feels like he has the upper hand anyway. He's like, I've got this. I am feeling powerful. I have been juiced up by what is called the technocracy. And the technocracy is the ones who are kind of running the show. Baludan was kind of a low level, not low level, he was a high level operative that ran a company. And so he's using that company to kind of, manipulate things and do some things in order to bring this species of insect that is going to be trying to come through. So for context, that's what the stakes are in this regard. They didn't know all of this until we got to this point. They've seen a few things. They've seen some experimentations. They've seen this temple to a thing called Mother. They met some half-human experimentations that were part insect, part human. And so that kind of clued them in that there was some shadiness, some shadiness was going on here, and that they were going to have to face that. So that being said, I laid those, and I think that's important. If, once again, those things were not in the game, and if you're a DM, listen, it's always helpful to set up your next adventure with just some little clues that you can offer that says, oh, that's unique, or that's unusual, or I wonder why that was there. And then, when it all is revealed, they go, oh, that's what that was, and that's what this was. That kind of builds up the, the story a little bit, so that when the reveal happens, they go, okay, all that makes sense. And so I went ahead, Baludan goes ahead and releases the force field there. I'm not the force field, but the shield to let them in. And of course, they come in guns a-blazing. Now up here, you can see there is this creature. Now I did tell them this. This is a mutated lizard there. And what I said to them is, when you're looking through, and I clued them in, I didn't have to, but I said, you know what? I'm going to give them a clue because I really felt like this could be a TPK. So I wanted to give them as many clues as to what they were getting into. And I told them as they came in that this room lit up like a hive. Also another clue. That's not written in there, but I put that in there so that they would know that the bugs and the creatures they saw, that now they're in this hive mind. They're in this hive that's lit up by these, what do I want to say? Hexagons. And so all these hexagons light up on the floor, light up on the walls, like you're coming into a real hive. And I told them that with this lizard, I said, they didn't see it, but I said, look, what you see is blood spurting up just past that control panel. And that it says blood is just spurting into the air. And when they got past that point, or when they were able to get in close enough, they said, well, these are all dead scientists. And you see here, this is a lizard that they had, a mutated lizard that they had to deal with as part of the experimentations that were going on here. And so the battle ensues, right? There's chaos happening. You had one of these, you had this character right here, this NPC, was is now kind of a cybernetic. Think of like iRobot, but with human flesh on. So like a cyborg-ish type thing. They have these sims in their head that have been have this virus in them that kind of built technology, these little nanites that kind of go through their whole body and like are building inside their body this mechanical type network, basically building a framework and think of like if you were building the Borg from Star Trek, let's say, right, that these little nanites are in there just kind of building these mechanical and technological things in there. And so now they're kind of this half human, half cyborg type of creature now. So he is the kind of the one that's going to go be on the forefront. I left this one, Leanne, well, that's Merrick, and this is Leanne. I left Leanne back. Leanne, and when I thought about this, I thought, I don't have to send her in. Normally, I would think to myself, well, I'm going to go ahead and, send everybody in, and they have to do battle. And I thought, no, I don't think that's what would do that. I think Laris Baludan, the villain here, is smarter than that, and gave Leanne orders and saying, hey, don't leave my side, basically. You're gonna stay right here. Merrick is going to come in and do as much damage as he can. The lizard is going to do as much damage as he can. And they proved to be pretty formidable. The party, struggled. This was the whole session. And so there was a lot of, strategizing, and those type of things. Now, some of the things that I put in there that made it unique in that sense of how did I make it different, or how did I make it challenging for them, which is what I try to do in every game I do. I try to offer something there that's going to challenge them. So you can see here that I have these pods here. So these little containers all have, some of them have, all of them have something, they have somebody in them, the ones that have, people in them. That is what Laris Baludan is using to kind of fuel this force field around him, which they've shot at him, and they've discovered that their physical weapons don't do any damage. And now it's causing decrease, right? They don't know how many, how much firepower it's going to take to physically take down that shield. But they do know that what is powering him, not only is it the technocracy, the technology, the sim, the bad voodoo he had to do to kind of get all this power. There's wires all hanging out from him up into the ceiling. And so I posed them and they were asking questions, right? They were saying, well, what do these pods do? And I said, well, roll a perception check. And so they'd look, and I said, well, all these are going up into the ceiling. All the wires are kind of going up into the ceiling. And so eventually they figure out that these things are powering the shield. The problem is that each of these have people in them. And so they're trying to figure out, how to get that shield down. Eventually, Ralph, who's here somewhere, Ralph is here, and he would go in, and he is kind of the technomancer. He's the one that's got some magic to him. And so they figure out that magic is going to be this is Ralph here, that magic is going to be the key here to getting in. So, they eventually do that. But while that's happening, there's other NPCs here that are in danger. This is somebody who's been there from the beginning. This is an NPC who has given them their missions, things like that. Bliss Larkham, who is a pop star, who Baludan was trying to, release the virus into the public through her music. And so they had to be careful. They didn't know what they were going to have to do to figure out, if they just went around and they don't know, the power, the structure of this, right? How are these tubes being powered up? What kind of damage does it do if they take out a pod, right? One of the things I didn't do is I could have said that you see, I could have amped up the tension by saying that you can see that there's a life bar, if you will, that is slowly being drained, right? If they were to notice that, let's say. And so that adds a time limit, a time factor that if they don't get the shield down, then they don't get the force field down around Baludan, well then, they're not going to fare well. And not only that, while he is powering up his force field, that's draining life from everybody in those tubes, people whom they know, which is Bliss Larkham and Garland. Now, these other folks that are in here, they are, I told them that some were scientists, some were part of the security team of this place that Value Dan just kind of threw in there. And then what I tried to do, and I didn't do it as successful as I'd like, but I did. Eris is one of the, not a PC, but she's an NPC as well. And Value Dan actually wound up using a tractor beam, like a spell of some kind, that he was doing that, and he would take her and wound up bringing her into one of the tubes. His plan was to fill these tubes and use that tractor beam to put, and keep powering up, right? Keep powering up all his forces and actually increasing his power. That if he could fill all the tubes, and there were some back here, if you can see there, right? And so he's trying to do that. Now, the dilemma, and I say dilemma, but it wasn't, not for these players anyway. They that what happened was, what they were going to do was, then they said, well, what are we going to have to, they asked, basically, we're going to have to destroy or disconnect or whatever these, these tubes for that force field to be weakened. I said, yes. I said, but the problem is that those who are in the tubes, I said, they're probably not going to make it. And so they've said, they would go by, basically, they would go to the tube. Now, they tried to shoot this one for the scientist, and it didn't work. They wound up not being able to shoot that tube out, the wires that were hanging there. They were able to get this one and this one and this one, and they had, people in them. And they would say, basically, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice for, the cause here of bringing down Value Dan. What they couldn't do is they could not take out this one or this one, this one or this one. Otherwise, they were going to lose some NPCs. Now, I imagine at the end of the day, they probably would have if they had to. I don't know. They may have thought of something else. But they did this. They were taking out these ones with such such cavalier attitude. I mean, they did it. But I told them next time I'm going to put puppies and children. Puppies and children are going there to see if that would to force them to slow them down. But I think that in this case, there was enough of a moral dilemma for them that caused them to think at least a little bit, right? If there was more people in there, like if I had gathered up all the NPCs that they knew, like if I had put the pilot, this is probably where I would have changed things. I would have put the pilot here, that got them here. There was a bounty hunter that helped them. There was a mechanic that was helping them. There were several people that I could have filled that up with and said that Value Dan had been tracking basically all their assets, all their people, and then gathered them into these tubes to make it difficult for them to choose who was going to live, who was going to die, and how they were going to do what they were going to do. So for me, it offered enough tension. It offered enough of a moral dilemma. Like I said, I would have ramped that up a little bit had I thought that through. It's good though that they did not get this one, because that's one of the scientists that put the sim. See, that's the other thing. That's the other thing you can put in there, is that one of these tubes, you could say that one of the people in these tubes has the answer or the secret or the information you need to remove the SIM card from Bliss Larkham. Now, they could try themselves, which they could have, and they tried the first time, and they wound up injuring her. So, and then, the scientist, I wound up having the scientist step forward and saying, "Get away from her, you fools! I'll take that out," and wound up doing that. But you can make it to where they have to choose, because if the key person in one of these tubes dies, well, then either the information's gone, the ability or the function to perform something that they need, or they know where the MacGuffin is, or whatever that may be, that's going to be an issue as well. And so for this particular adventure, I felt like there was enough moral dilemma, enough tension, enough enough things they had to do and figure out, all the while doing battle, right? Doing battle with Baludan and his henchmen. And I could have put more creatures in there, but I think I put the right amount of everything. Like I said, it was not a party kill, but there was significant damage taken. Listen, the dice are rolled. I don't fudge dice, right? I go ahead and I said, look, if it happens, it happens. And so, if one of the characters would have, died, if one of the player characters would have died, that's fine. It would have happened. But the way it played out, they all wound up living. Good for them. They had a lot of, there was a couple of times during it where Xander here, he is an astrophysicist, and he did a lot of Mike, who runs the character, had some funny jokes in there where he was taking Neil deGrasse Tyson quotes and quoting them, and he had done a whole thing where he had taken the suit he's wearing and actually his character and put Neil's head. Neil deGrasse Tyson's head on there, and I just thought that was funny. And so I would give, a hero point or something like that, or a point of inspiration that they can use. So they had some of those that they were using that they had access to, which was helpful to them as well. Once again, I'm not set out on. I'm not the kind of DM that just winds up killing people. That's not my goal. I'm not trying to TPK the group. I am trying to challenge them enough that if they make bad choices, if they make enough bad choices, or the dice roll a certain way, listen, there's danger. There's real danger here. There's danger that they could die. There's danger that the NPCs they need will die, or even the NPCs that they don't need but they want to save. They could die. And so I think for this particular adventure, this particular dungeon dive, I think there was enough of everything that I felt good about. And so that's my dungeon dive that I get to share with you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and come back here. If you have any questions, by the way, happy to answer any questions you may have. If you're watching this in the future, you're welcome to ask many questions about my DM style or about any of those things. Happy to answer any questions you may have. But the let's see here. Let's get back to where I am. There we are. But yeah, that was kind of our dungeon dive that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. Just share a few tips that I thought made this particular dungeon dive pop. And I hope that maybe there was something there of value for you that you say, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I hadn't thought of that before, and maybe that will help out in any game that you have coming up as well. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask any questions you have. And by the way, if you're new here and you've not subscribed yet, would love you to be a subscriber. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button. I can tell you, as far as upcoming games, talk about upcoming games. I do have an upcoming game over on. I do my games right here on Roll20. And so if anybody's interested in a game on Thursday night, I have a game coming up on Thursday night. Let me go ahead and show that to you. Have a game coming up on Thursday night called The Lair of Lord Whiskers. It is a D&D 5e one-shot. It's a level 3, is it? Yes, level 3, third level. So it's just a fun, kind of a Thursday night fun dungeon dive. So, if you want to get your weekend started early, be sure to go ahead and check out, I'll put my links down below to my profile if you're interested in checking out the profile ever so often to see what adventures I have coming up. I know I have some other Thursday night ones planned coming up. I'm hoping to run a Shadow Dark very soon, maybe doing that maybe Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see. That's a possibility. And so, yeah, and then if there are other games that are coming up. If you want to be notified that of the games that I have coming up, I do have a newsletter, and I'll put that link down below as well. It's over on Substack, and I throw out some fun articles and stuff maybe that you don't see here, stuff I've just written, and you could get that kind of information as well as being updated on games, and just kind of free stuff, that kind of thing. Maybe it's a table, that you can roll a table on. I may, send out a table you can use for your game, something like that. So be sure to subscribe. It is Substack. I think it's substack.com/FlintFireforge. So you can check that out. But the link will be down below. Once again, any questions you have, if you're a new DM, my goal here on the channel is to try to help you run epic games. I want you to have great times with your friends like I'm having with my friends every Friday night. Regardless of the game we play, regardless of the game you play, I know that you want to run epic games. You want to have fun. You want to build memories. And my friends and I have certainly done that over the years. And so we are stoked every Friday night when we get to be together and hang out. And hopefully you are doing the same with your friends. But that is it for tonight, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. If you have any questions right now, you're welcome to ask them. I'll stay on for maybe just another minute. And I know some of you have been celebrating Mother's Day today, so happy Mother's Day to all of you that are celebrating today. But like I said, I just got through those. I just saw a bunch of you come on in, which is great. Thank you for being here. Just wrapping up. You can go back and watch. I break down one of the dungeons that I did this past Friday night in my Esper Genesis 5e game that I play with my high school buddies. So if you want to watch that, you can. But if you have questions, those that have been watching, maybe if you have questions about DMing, if you're a new DM, or even if you're a veteran DM and you're playing a new system, or you're wanting some other ideas or things, happy to answer any of those. But anyway, that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you being a part tonight. Don't forget, all the links will be down below to all the things, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week this week. Go run some epic games, and I'll catch you guys in another video this week, I hope. We'll see you there. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.